Hi and welcome back to another Pygame tutorial. This one is basically going to be jumping up and down. Simple circle going up and then back down to wherever it started from. So let's get straight into it. Well, first of all, we need to import our Pygame library. Always essential, that one. And then we'll import the local stuff. So Pygame from, yeah, that's right, Pygame locals. Import all of them. We want them all. But what the locals are is keyboard and events variables. So instead of typing pygame.quit, we can just say quit and k escape, which means keyboard escape, the escape key. Right. So we also need to import the system library as well because we want to quit nice and cleanly. Our circle that's going to go up and down is going to be our player, so we need to define a player class and define the initialization function. We've got the x and y coordinates, and we'll define the size as well. So we'll pass them now into the instance of our player. Typos galore. Self and then size equals size, and also we need a variable that says whether our player is jumping or not, and we'll always start off as false. My god, let me just take a quick sip of coffee because I'm typing like a maniac here. And self jump offset. Now what we do with the jumping offset is that we don't change the y coordinate here. What we do is we increase the jump offset until it gets to a maximum height, and then we change jumping to false, and then it comes back down again. And we can't jump again until the jump offset is back to 0. You'll see what we mean. You'll see what I mean in a second. So now then, let's define our window. So equals, we're going to go for a mid-range definition. It's not going to be spectacular graphics or anything that would benefit from high definition window. And we'll define the half of the width and half of the height. 2 height divided by 2, and the area. I always do this, I don't know why. Makes no difference, but there we go. We'll define some colours. If you don't understand colours, then just go back into one of my other tutorials on colours, just so you know what I'm doing here, and we'll do red as well. And solid fill, because when we use some drawing functions on Pygame, it requires to define either a 0 or a 1. 0 is a solid fill and 1 is just a line. But we'll only be doing solid fills on this. So now let's create an instance of our player class, and we'll start it in the middle of the screen. So half width, half height, and we'll give it a radius of 30 pixels. Now, when we jump, we want to go to a maximum height and then come back down again. So we'll define that now. Jump height equals 50 pixels. Okay, so let's create our Pygame window, init, and we'll define the clock because we're going to be running at the speed of 30 frames per second. So equals clock equals Pygame time clock. Clock has a capital letter. I made that mistake and couldn't work it out for ages. Display surface equals Pygame display set mode width and height, which we've defined as a mid-range kind of high definition, and we'll set the frames per second to 30. Right, so let's create our program loop. While true, there's not going to be any conditions for exiting this loop until we press either escape or the X in the window. But we'll define that later. Let's just get the graphics on the screen first. So Pygame draw the circle to the display surface. It's going to be white, and we're going to be writing it to the player X and the player Y coordinates and the player size. And here we are, look, we're going to solid fill our rectangle. Excellent. So let's update the window. And we'll wait for the clock cycle to finish. Tick. Oh, and we'll set that to our frames per second, and then we'll clear the display surface so we can draw again. Black. Okay, so that should output a circle in the middle of our display surface, and let's have a little run of that. So jumping py. Let's go over to, oh, we've got an error. Py is not defined. Oh yeah, need to put a dot in there. Save it. Run it again. Whee! So let's just have a quick look. Yeah, there we go. So it's in the middle of a thing. You notice that the cursor changes from there to there. That's because we're not reading any events. And when we try to close the program, we're going to get a crash. Look, boing. So we need a way of reading in the events of that. So let's go back to our script, and then we'll define a function here that reads in the events and quits if either the X in the corner is pressed or escape. So events if oh no, we need a for loop because there's a kind of cache of events that we need to iterate through and find out what they are. So if event, so for event in Pygame event get, so we're getting a list of events and we're going to iterate through them and call that iteration, each iteration event. So if event type is equal to quit, so if we're pressing the X in the corner, or event type is equal to key down. And remember we were saying it before about importing the locals? Well, that means, see where it says key down there? Well, if we didn't import them like that, we'd have to write pygame.keydown. And this just makes it nice clean code. So if the event is key down, and event key is equal to k escape. So if we press the escape key, then we quit the program. So we'll cleanly quit Pygame here. So Pygame quit and Pygame, no, not system exit. There we go. So that's now done. So the events, if we close the window, everything's golden. No crashing or anything. So we'll add that to there. Let's save that, give it a little run. So I'll look over to the screen. And yep, still nothing, still can't jump or anything, but we can at least close the window without it crashing. Brilliant. So let's go back to the code. Now what we need to do is we need to add some proper keystrokes now. So we need to make the circle jump. In order to do that, we need to work out which one is our jump key, which will be space, and we need to look to see if that's been pressed. So we'll start another function, and we'll call that keys. We'll pass the player to that function because we need to know if the player is jumping or not. So keys equals Pygame key get pressed. Now what this does, get pressed, is it returns a list of all the possible keys, and then you check which one is being pressed, and if it's 1 it is being pressed, and if it's 0 it's not being pressed. So if keys k space, so k space references that space in the keys list, and if it's 1 then it's obviously being pressed. Well, 1 equals true, so we don't need to define whether it is 1 or not. So if key space and player jumping is equal to false, and player jump offset is equal to 0. Now the reason why we do this is because when you press the space bar, the player can't be jumping already, because otherwise you can just jump out the screen. So jumping needs to be false, but also jumping is false when you're falling back down to the ground. So you could possibly jump again while you're falling. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that the jump offset is 0. Now what we do with the jump offset is we deduct that from the y coordinate. So if jump offset is 50, then it's y minus 50, and that is where the position of our circle will be. And as we fall, jump offset then reduces, and we can only jump again once it is at 0. So if all those conditions there are met, then we can say player jumping equals to true. Yeah. Now we need to define a jumping routine. So do jumping, and we'll pass the player instance into that function as well. So we need our jumping height in this one because we need to check to see if jumping offset has got to its maximum height. So jumping or jump height. And that's outside of our code, isn't it? So we need to define that as a global. So if player jumping, then we need to increase the player jump offset. So when you're jumping, the offset increases, and that increases then when you minus that from the y coordinate, then you go upwards towards the top of the screen, because at the top of the screen you've got the coordinate 0, or y is 0 at the top of the screen. So if y is 100 and then we minus 50, which is the jump offset, then obviously the position of our newly drawn circle will be at 50. Yeah, does that make sense? Brilliant. So if jump set plus equals 1. Now we need to check to see if the jump offset's got to its maximum height. So if player jump offset is greater or equal to jump height, which we defined as the global there, then we need to say that that the player is no longer jumping. Yeah. So maximum height is 50. If the offset gets to that height, then we say, okay, no more. Don't go any higher. Start falling down to the ground. Okay. But now we need to check that, because now jumping is false, without checking, we could just, while the player was falling, we could press the spacebar and then jump again. But we don't want that to happen. So player jump offset is greater than 0. Remember, if jump offset is 0, then we're not jumping at all, are we? So, and player jumping is equal to false. There. Player jump offset equals minus equals 1. So now we're coming back down to the ground. So the if the jump offset is greater than our jump height, which is 50, then we stop jumping, and then we just check to see if the jump offset is greater than 0 and jumping is false. Then we reduce the jump offset back until we get down to 0, and then we stop. Because if we don't check, if we don't stop, then we'll just go back and we'll just fall straight out the bottom of the flipping window. Right, so that's that done. So we've done that now. We should, if we do, we need to put the keys on there, don't we? P and do jumping P as well. Did I call it do jumping? Yes, I did. Okay, so let's check that and see if it works. Oh, no, it won't, because we need to minus player jumping offset, don't we? There we are. Let's try that. Bom, 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 bom. Oh no, we've got a problem. Player instant has no attribute jumping on where? Jump offset. Oh, jump offset, not jumping offset. Silly. Let's try that. Run that. Seems to be working. Go to there. It's not jumping. Why? Let's go back to the code. Right. Okay, so we do the keys. If keys equals k space and player jumping is equal to false and player jump offset is equal to 0, that's fine. We're not doing that. We're doing the jump there. We're minusing that from there. Okay. Player jumping equals true. Not equal to true. Oh. Let's try that now. Whee! There we go, let's jump in. But now, and you can see, look, we can keep pressing the space bar and it doesn't jump. It's not going to go straight out the bottom of the screen. It only lets us jump when it's at 0, when offset is at 0. So let's go back to the code, because it's a bit difficult to see where the floor is. So we'll add our a floor. But what we'll do is we'll only let the floor be white while we're able to jump. Any other time will be red again, just to make it look cool. So platform color equals white, no, red. What happened there? Red. If p jump offset is greater than 0, is equal to 0, and p jump, oh, that's it. if that equals 0, then platform color equals white. Okay. Now we'll draw our platform. Display surface, platform color, half the width minus 100, the half height plus layer size 200, 10, and yeah, solid fill. Let's give that a run, see what happens. Oops, still got it running. Get rid of that, there we go, better. Let's go over to the window. Way! Up and down, up and down. That's pretty cool. Now I've got it jumping. Obviously it's red when we can't jump anymore. Now they let us jump and it's white. Anyway, that's the end of that tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. If you've got anything, if you've got any improvements to the code, make a comment in the down below the video, and join us for the next one. What we'll do next time is we'll try and integrate some sort of more realistic jumping aspects, so that it's not just going up and down like that, because it's not very realistic, is it? You'll go up and then gravity will bring you down a bit quicker, won't it? So we'll try that. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.